Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and we are going to talk a little bit today with Captain Mark Hubbard, my father, and hear a little bit from him about the history of Hubbard's Marina, another one of these dockside chat videos. Hopefully you guys are...
So to make a living, I borrowed a 5-horsepower outboard from my dad and a little 14-foot skiff and a rod and reel. Nope, we didn't have spinning tackle back then. And after the war, I went back and checked the fish house record. For the 3 months that I made a living fishing, I averaged 500 pounds of trout a week with that little rod and reel.
Mark Hubbard, my father, has been in this industry your whole life. And your father before you, and it's a pretty cool thing we got going on, that we're blessed to be able to do what we do and enjoy, and couldn't do it without our amazing community and our team. But it's crazy to think about how the fishery has changed, how the industry has changed, and where we started from rowboats and cane bowls to where we are today with hydrofoil assisted catamarans and 450 horsepower Yamaha engines. It's nuts, man.
It is. Son of a sailor.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you grew up in a time of Hubbard's Marina where, I mean, you were essentially there in the beginning when Hubbard's Marina moved from Paso Grill to where we are today in Johns Pass. And
yes,
I mean, the thing that I always think about, I was talking to a police officer yesterday about this because he was in the force for like 40 years, and he was talking about how much Madeira Beach has changed. And I always bring up the fact when someone starts talking like that, it's like, yeah, my father used to ride a dirt bike from Paso Grill to Johns Pass to work on Gulf Boulevard, and don't try that today.
Yeah, we been through a lot. Born and raised in it. That's the way I like to say it. And I remember the old pier down in Paso Grill. Dad would pay us 5 cents a pinfish and keep the kids busy. And I remember those rowboats. He had them there. I was 13, so they were 40 years old then. Nuts. Yeah, so I have pictures of them. And we moved up here in 1976. I was 13 years old, and that was quite the expedition. He was 63, where a lot of guys were retiring, moving the entire business up to Johns Pass. He got the opportunity to come up here and be closer to the fish and be closer to where the people are, and it has worked out really well. His hard work on Channel 13 and promoting sport fishing on the west coast of Florida and educating people and taking them fishing, and it's really built a foundation for us. And I had the opportunity to take over the family business, and now and this is really a cool thing.
Yeah, it is.
I worked for the guy that had the pier when I was 15 years old, the summer of 1930. I bought his business, his concession with the city, at 15 years old. 40 cane poles and 5 rowboats for $150.
We've been running this overnight trip. My father and brother started it in, I guess it was the late 70s, 80s. Hubbard's Marina and the Central West Florida Gulf fishing people fly here from all over the country.
And my grandfather, your father, Captain Wilson Hubbard, not only moved the business from Paso Grill to Johns Pass, but also was instrumental in working with the city to build the Johns Pass Boardwalk. Also, he was, him and his kids, you included, were instrumental in kicking off and starting.
We call that sweat equity.
Yeah, and starting the Johns Pass Seafood Festival. Captain Wilson Hubbard, my grandfather, was also one of the founding members of our Tourist Development Council here in the county that he served on for many years. You served on for many years, and now I have the honor and privilege to serve on it myself. So it's amazing that we started in Paso Grill back in the 20s, 1928, because back then Paso Grill was the hub. Gulfport was the main hub on the mainland, and people went to Paso Grill. That was a happening spot.
The ferry went from the casino right to Mary Pier there, and the Paso Grill was St. Pete Beach, and then they put the little bridge up there at the north end, Corey Avenue. They rebuilt, and that was in late 20s, early 30s. I think they built that bridge. It was a wooden bridge before that, so it is really developed into something. Back in the old days, he was commercial fishing. That's what he and his mother would go out at night and commercial fish and catch bait and catch bait for everyone coming out of St. Pete. They would fish for kingfish and tarpon were the main fish back then, because you didn't go more than 5 miles offshore. I mean, those
because you didn't have motors.
Oh, they were horrible. Yeah, that's why they were rowboats. But the wealthy people, they used to say, would have these boats, and it was like the boat from Key West that they would highlight. I mean, this thing is just a rickety old boat. They have one in the Bass Pro Shop down there in Key West, where they would sport fish out of this thing. And the Hub 1, Granddad's first charter boat, was very similar to that, and that's why we named our charter boat the Hub, and now we have the Hub series named after his charter boats.
Yeah.
But they would started just commercial fishing, and then they were bait fishing for people coming out of St. Pete, and then they started taking the rowboat and taking people fishing, sport fishing. And that was before World War II. And after World War II, Granddad had enough money to buy the first charter boat and party boat, and then that's when he really started to promote the sport fishing on the Gulf Coast, and became the very first founder of the St. Pete Beach Chamber of Commerce as well, with Mr. Stamball. So he was a leader in the fishing industry and tourism in the Central West Florida area, and that's why we started talking about writing that book that we're going to do for our 100th year anniversary coming up in 3 years, 2028. And so hopefully we're going to have a book promoting the history of sport fishing in Central West Florida, and what Captain Wilson Hubbard had to do, and the rest of the family to promote and develop that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And back then, Paso Grill was a main hub, so we were in Paso Grill, but then over time with the Corey Avenue Bridge, the Bayway Bridge, all of a sudden traffic was diverted from Paso Grill, and Captain Wilson saw the writing on the wall of how that area was becoming more residential. The residents were interested in, they were talking about putting a gate up, right?
Yeah.
And so he saw the writing on the wall, and that's when the decision was made to move to Johns Pass. And thankfully he did, because obviously Johns Pass, with his help of building the boardwalk, really becoming such a unique tourist destination that we are in.
1974, I think it was. They built the Bayway, and the changed the traffic patterns. Before, they would come onto the St. Pete Beach, drive all the way to the end, past the 8th Avenue, Hubbard's Pier back then. And when they built that bridge, the traffic pattern changed, and people went off the beach, and they came on and went north. And that's when they started talking about putting a gated community up just past the Don Cesar. And that was it. It was like the writings on the walls. Tourism is not going to be like it used to be in Paso Grill. And he had the opportunity in 1976 to move to Johns Pass, right after the bicentennial celebrations. And at 63 years old, amazing.
Yeah, crazy. And now today we have built, my father before me has built this amazing machine that we have so many boats, multiple party boats, multiple charter boats, dolphin trips, island trips, shelling trips, ferry trips. We're continuing to try to innovate and bring more boats to the market. This year we just launched a boat. We're going to hopefully launch another boat here in another few months. So we're building our own boats now, and we have built this amazing team of captains, crew, staff that do such an amazing job. And
some of the captains are with us 3 generations.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Multiple captains been with us 2 generations.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And we're very blessed to have the team we have today and do what we do. It's so cool. And it's amazing to see the changes in the fishery too. I mean, going back in the day where when grandfather was running trips, I mean, essentially he was going out there and catching and killing tarpon, because back in the day that's what you did. You brought the tarpon back and hung them up, and when he got his internal combustion engines and started running charters on those actually powered boats after World War II, going out there. And we still have those photos of docks full of Goliath grouper, of snook, of amberjack. I mean, essentially there were no regulations. There weren't many people out there.
Yeah, there's pictures of semi-trucks stacked floor to ceiling with loggerhead turtles.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. And then it's interesting because I was doing research as part of a recent thing we were doing at the federal fisheries regulations and the Gulf Council management stuff. And in the research, MSA was enacted in 1976 that governs our overall nation's fisheries. And in the Gulf, Reef Amendment 1, the very first regulations on any reef fish in the Gulf of Mexico was passed in 1988. And back then, they took meeting notes by hand. So there's handwritten notes, and in those handwritten notes, it talks about Captain Wilson Hubbard and the party boats out of Madeira Beach. So not only was he instrumental in tourism and sport fishing, but also was a pioneer in leading the charge on the first ever fishing regulations in the Gulf.
I remember going to the meetings with them, and they were torturously boring. And
they still are.
And arguing, and it's interesting, yeah, because then I found myself in those same meetings representing the fishery, and now you represent it. So that is a really neat transition through the generations. 3 generations arguing our right to fish in the Gulf of Mexico, because those regulations then were turned on us, and people started taking control of it, and without really having a solid representation and knowing what was going on. And that's going on through today, as with everything.
And now it's
in
the
the
Gulf of
government.
America.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to affect more change. You've done a great job in trying to gain some control and make some sense of this stuff.
Yeah, it's an ongoing battle for sure. But nowadays we've come from those rowboats to 67 was our first long-range offshore party boat, right?
Yeah, it was Flying Fisherman, I believe, started like a 12-hour, 15-hour trip.
Yeah.
I was never even allowed to go on that boat because that was so fast. And then they built the Florida Fisherman in late 70s, mid 70s. And then they started doing some overnight trips. And with Loran C, I think it was, they started doing the first trip to the Middle Grounds towards the end of that boat. Now, we live out there, and one of the few party boats that have stood the test of time running offshore. And now we even have this foil-assisted go-fast 12-hour boat that can touch that water in a 12-hour time frame. So it's been something as we've matured through this fishery and the technology that we have. So we'll see what we do in the future.
Yeah, technology has changed the game for sure with the innovations in motors and radars, and it's crazy to think about Grandpa starting out there with soap on a rope and just using visual cues and timing how long it takes you to get out there. I mean, it's amazing thinking back to what the tools they had back then.
I have those original charts, and it was triangulated from the Dockside and the lighthouse at Egmont Key.
Wow.
So you can only go out as far as you can have those visual sites, which is about 12 miles.
Yeah.
12 to anywhere from 5 to 15 miles was a reef fishing length, and beyond that, you're just sort of searching in the dark, guessing with the soap on the rope and time distance with the compass, and that was something. And the fishery didn't have any pressure on it back then. Nowadays, with the plotters, I mean, you can go really close, and with the new spot-on trolling motors, and really making it simple for people to fish offshore. A lot more pressure.
A lot more people doing it.
It's definitely put some pressure on the fishery. So definitely they're requiring some regulation there, and so good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Have fun. Yeah, for sure.
I'm just gonna stay here and go do what I want.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time this morning talking a little bit about the history and where we've come from, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. We're going to have more coming, and leave a comment below if you want to hear more, if you have more questions for us, and we'll follow it up with another video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on those notifications, give the video a thumbs up, and stay tuned to our Sunday night live stream show. Every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. we give away free fishing trips and have a good time doing it. So don't forget, also, if you're too busy to go fishing,
You're just too busy.
yep, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, bring him on back here where everybody can see it. That's the first sailfish I've been that close to. Several fish today that the first time I've
Tuna, we've got kingfish, we've got bottom fish, grouper, snapper, amberjack, and we got it all out here in the Gulf of Mexico.
If you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy.